Welcome back to N2 the Chatterverse, where two gents share their 2 cents on pop media. I am Victor Dandridge, the hardest working man in comics.
And I'm still trying to figure out who I am.
You are...
Other than Bill.
You are Bill. You are the billest Bill that has ever billed.
Yeah.
We're not going to kill you, though, because that would suck, like, tremendously. Did you ever get any blowback from that movie? Like, that comes out and everyone's like, kill Bill, and they just kind of look at you. Did you ever get anything like that?
No, not really.
What?
No.
Oh, missed opportunity. Dang it.
Those were 2 really good movies, though.
Absolutely really good movies. In fact...
those were movies that people went to see.
They did. They did. So the subject of conversation that we're going to get into are really good movies that people have not been going to see and trying to understand what is happening. Why are people missing really good movies? What has changed in the landscape of moviedom? And we are being specific. We're saying not seeing them in the theaters versus having just watched them on some streaming service or at home, right?
Right.
So you have 2 reference points that you use as examples of really good movies, and I co-sign. They are really, really damn good movies. But people did not go to theaters to see them, and there is no real rationale as to why. And
so my 2 movies.
Let's go.
It's Hell or High Water.
Yes.
Which is basically a modern day shoot 'em up.
What is it? Was that 2018? When is that?
It's before that.
Okay.
It's like way before that.
Okay.
And the other one is Chef.
Yes.
And I just remember watching these movies in the theater. I'm like, why aren't people coming out?
Where is everyone? Like, literally, where is everyone?
So
now I will admit I'm guilty. I didn't watch either of those in theater. I did see them when they came out while I was at home, and I do remember promotions for Chef, and I don't remember why I didn't go see it, but I don't remember seeing Hell or High Water promoted as much as another commercially super successful movie.
And that tends to be the reason. Like, well, I didn't see a trailer on it, or I didn't. There were no ads on TV. Chef came out in 2014. Hell or High Water is 2016.
Okay.
And I agree with that, but also there's this thing called Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah. No, very true.
Maybe 8 years ago it wasn't the biggest thing, but also it was still there.
It was still there and gave people insights to these things.
Right.
But even then, like the framework for thinking that it's a good movie was there, right? Hell or High Water, starting with that one, which is working our way backwards. But Chris Pine, absolute, he was a win at the time, without question.
Yeah.
Ben Foster, a hidden gem, has been a hidden gem since, like, his entire career. He's been a hidden gem.
Ben Foster was always thought of as an up-and-comer.
Yeah. Even after he had been in a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
But he is a great actor.
Right.
Like, I'm trying to think, is there a movie that he's been in that I didn't like?
Well, even if there wasn't a movie that you didn't like.
It wasn't him.
It wasn't, there are a lot of times that, like, I didn't like the movie, but,
X-Men Last Stand. That's the closest I got.
But,
but it wasn't him.
Yeah, it wasn't him.
It wasn't him.
But there's a lot of times that there's performances in movies that I don't like that that really sold. Yeah. So,
wow. And I do think that Hell or High Water is a brilliant, different film. That's one of the things that hit me the most about it when I actually watched it was, it would have served me better to watch it in theaters because just the scope of it was powerful. And I missed out by not seeing that in the theater. Chef, I didn't mind not seeing it in the theater. Like, it's such a cute, very homegrown movie, but it should have made bajillions of dollars because it is so wonderful. I mean, it's John
a feel good movie.
Yeah. Favreau, Leguizamo, right?
Yeah.
I can't think of the kid's name. I can't think of who the kid is.
I wouldn't be able to
say
that.
All right.
I've watched that movie so many times, and I've never even thought about it because I get stuck on it's Jon Favreau's fantasy.
Right.
He's big time chef, and he's got a hot ex-wife and a hot girlfriend.
Lucky dude.
No, not to say that Jon Favreau is not a nice guy.
Sure.
But
he's also a very Yes, kind of accurate.
Yeah.
Like that's he is a chameleon. Like I give him mad credit because there's so many things that he has been in that you almost forget that it's him
Yeah.
because of how respectfully he has changed over the years, like visually, like in his prominence and everything. Like he's changed a lot.
Yeah.
Long hair, short hair, bigger, smaller, like whatever. You forget like that's the dude from Friends. That's the dude, from The Replacements. Like all these different things where you're like, that was John Favreau. Yes, it was. Like he's brilliant. I think the thing that got me for that one in particular was that it definitely rang true to me in terms of me being a entrepreneur and staking out on my own and kind of creating a place for myself where I go, here's something I do really, really well, and I need to take that on the road and go for it and do amazing things. It's like that's what Chef does for me, which I think is absolutely brilliant. My offering to this equation is The Gentleman, which we were looking up, came out kind of in a weird span, late 2019
Yeah.
and then into 2020. So potentially affected by COVID, but not really because things didn't shut down till like March officially. So The Gentleman, again, all-star cast. I mean, we're talking super, group setup with Guy Ritchie at the helm, but we've got Charlie Hunnam, who on one level I think is a phenomenal actor, but his Hollywood leading man presentations haven't been the greatest.
I think it's been bad choices.
Yes, but in I don't know where the choice was. I don't think King Arthur was a terrible idea. Again, Guy Ritchie.
I don't think it was a very good movie.
It wasn't a good movie. You're
But
right.
I don't think it was Charlie Hunnam was the reason that it was.
And that's kind of like that's the part where I'm like, I don't know where the breakdown is for the bad choice. Like, where did it go wrong? I don't really
there's
know.
plenty of the writing, just the whole thing.
Okay.
It never really worked for me.
No.
No,
Okay.
but The Gentleman was great.
The Gentleman was
he was great in it.
Yes. Hugh
And
Grant.
I love Sons of Anarchy, and
Right.
and he was great in that.
He was.
I mean, I like Pacific Rim a lot, but
I like that more than
I don't know
I thought it
that
was gonna.
anybody was great in it, but it was a fun. Charlie Day was great in it.
That's Charlie Day was great in it.
Yeah.
But Idris was dope too.
Idris. When is Idris Elba bad in something? Even in the Star Trek movie,
Love and Thunder.
Was he bad in that?
No, it just
That
was
movie
bad.
was bad.
It was just bad.
But anyway, back to which one? Oh, The Gentleman.
Yeah.
Matthew McConaughey.
Oh, he was dope.
I mean,
He was dope.
this movie it goes and it doesn't go in the direction you're expecting it to go in, and then when it does, you're thinking, "Oh, I've got it now," and like, nope.
Colin Farrell, man, him in the movie was freaking dope.
Yeah.
It's the coach. Come on, boys. It was amazing. But okay, so to the overall thesis though, why did people not go see this? Like what was it? Are we in a place where we have forgotten the value of the movie theater?
Well, it could have had a lot to do with the marketing of the movie.
Yeah.
Because I don't remember there being any.
True.
And once again goes back to Rotten Tomatoes. Because if you're looking for a movie to go see,
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't you go to a place that has all the reviews and like, oh, what's this movie? Like, oh, it's out. It even tells you it's out now. And I don't even know I'll be honest with you, I don't know what the Rotten Tomatoes score on that was. Anyway,
shall we go? Shall we to the tomato?
let's see if I've got that.
Let's to the
up.
tomato. Let's go. Which one are you looking up?
I'm gonna look up The Gentleman.
Okay. I'm going to look up Hell or High Water. Let's see what we got here. Now, I do think that there is something, dang, that hurts, to the idea that we're in a society where we, again, first experience any media through somebody else's lens. Mm-hmm. And going to Rotten Tomatoes almost kind of creates that same barrier of if the score isn't high enough on Rotten Tomatoes that I'm not going to see it. I'm not going to participate myself. I'm going to live through somebody else's thing.
Yeah.
And I wonder if that's part of it. Like there used to be something, I think, to the limited number of, we'll say, newspaper, movie reviews, and saying like, whoever this guy is full of crap because they didn't get this movie or they didn't like this movie because I loved it for this, and this. I think there's something to us kind of like overall consciously using Rotten Tomatoes in a point where, if it's not great on Rotten Tomatoes, we don't actually go. But
there is something to be said about that. It's 75%. 75% on 278 reviews.
Wow.
That's a lot. 84% audience score over 5,000 people. But yeah, there. If you look at it, but then now the audience score, you have to prove that you went to the movie.
Ooh, that's a big one.
Yeah, as opposed to the people that are like, it's a Zack Snyder movie. I love this.
Yeah.
It's a Zack Snyder movie. I hate this. I'm gonna create as many email accounts as I can to trend it down as much as possible, which is just stupid. Like why? Why waste your time with that?
Yes, like go create something. Yeah. Do something better. That'd be so much better. Hell or High Water, 97% from Rotten Tomatoes. That's 290 reviews.
Yeah.
Like,
is there an audience score on that?
Yep, 88, 25,000 plus ratings.
But that was also before they had to prove.
Right.
But still, that's it's still. Here's the problem with Rotten Tomatoes, and it's not Rotten Tomatoes. It's the people.
Yes.
It's like, it's only a 75%. That means that 3/4 of the people that saw it liked it.
Right. Like that's a lot. That's a lot. 3 out of 4 people literally were like, that was great. I enjoyed it.
You had an auditorium full of 100 people and 75 people liked it.
That is not
and
easy.
25 people found a reason to complain about their popcorn.
Because they do.
That's they find other things to complain about. I didn't like my movie, therefore the restrooms were trashed.
You're like, did you go to the bathroom, or did you go to the movie theater for the bathroom? Like, that's weird. Chef has a closer rating. I think is interesting. 87% from Rotten Tomatoes with 190 reviews, and with 50,000 plus ratings, 85 from the audience. A lot closer.
Yeah.
Right. But I think when you have something like that makes it a little bit more legitimate. Like, everybody actually really liked this movie.
Right.
Like.
So where was the word of mouth on these movies? That's what I want to know.
Yeah.
Because you have a movie like My Big Fat Greek Wedding.
Yeah. Yeah.
That everyone was going to see.
Yeah. I saw that like 3 times.
And there was like no advertising for this.
Well, okay, so not even just word of mouth. People were making like consorted trips, right? Like, I know I saw My Big Fat Greek Wedding with like not just myself and my ex-wife at the time, but like my parents went. Like, we went a separate time.
She was your ex-wife at the time?
Well, no, I'm sorry. She's my ex-wife now. She was my wife at the time. Sorry. But then, like, you just couldn't let me slide with it.
No.
But no, we went like a separate time with like my parents, and like it was a different sort of thing. Like, hey, we saw this good movie. Not just you should see it. Let's all go see it again.
Yeah.
And oddly enough, like, I think we're only seeing stuff like that in geekdom movie spaces, where we're kind of creating like, hey, this movie's coming out. We're going to create any sort of, family-centric event around it. Our buddy Jean-Paul, he actually is giving me crap because I'm not going to be able to go to New York when Dune 2 comes out, because he's creating like a thing where he's inviting people to go to the movies to watch Dune 2, because he's like, this is going to be such a big deal. We don't do that too often for any other type of movie, at least as far as I've seen, that doesn't have like a geek, pre-made route to it. Like, what are we missing out here? Why aren't we going to the movies like that anymore?
Barbie?
I would still call that a geek one. Come on, you saw how many...
That's a stretch.
You think?
Yeah, because Barbie, it appeals to, let's be honest, girls.
Yeah, I mean, they have. That's
not a
geekdom. About. I don't know, man. They was geeking out about that. The way that they were coming through in costume. No. Come on. No. Straight up, like, dressed up.
No.
That's Harry Potter. That's Star Wars.
No,
that's
hey,
X-Men.
Listen, I'm not saying that cosplay is not a thing.
Right.
All right. But this is where I have a problem with people that snub their nose at cosplay.
Okay.
Sex and the City.
Interesting. Okay, so to a degree, anyone that likes Sex and the City, they are cosplaying in very real ways.
How do they come to see the movie?
Right. They're
They got dressed up.
Right.
Well, how's that any different?
How's it? That's a good point. That's a good point.
I mean, this is these are the people that snub their nose.
Right.
And yes, I'm being very general on this, but
I
also
mean,
this was at a
happened.
time when you're like you're dressed up like
a Harry Potter to go.
Like,
why are you wearing
that's
that?
a Star Wars character. I'm like, yeah. That's a Star Wars character.
You knew that. Like, that's how good it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
That's how universal it is.
Yeah.
Even you knew that it was a Star Wars character. Okay. All right. So is dinner and a movie not a thing anymore? I rarely hear that. Like,
Well, that's kind of a problem with the movie theaters is that they're trying to make dinner and a movie at the theater.
Okay. I mean,
and I don't think they do a good job with it, but I understand why they're trying to do it.
Well, yeah.
But I think that is still because it's still a cheap date.
Yeah. Well, actually,
relatively cheap date.
Can you explain why they do it, just for the people that don't have that understanding? Why is it important for dinner and a movie to be at the theater?
So you come to the theater.
I mean, yes, but I mean, like from a financial standpoint.
Well, the idea is that you're bringing in all your money to the theater, and where the theater makes money is at the concession stand.
Right.
The problem is that the food
isn't always.
It's not the cheapest to make.
Right.
That's why popcorn costs so much money. It costs so little, and you make so much off it.
Right.
And as much as people complain about the freestyle, and the people that I've worked for have complained about freestyle, my thing is we give them a cup and they go away.
That's huge.
Yes. Now
huge.
You're losing
refill dollars for sure.
But you're losing money that you weren't losing before.
Right.
But you were able to get through the line so quickly doing that. But yeah, the idea is that, we have something that you want and we're going to feed you at the same time.
Yeah.
Give us all your money.
I mean, it's a good move.
Yeah.
It's a good move.
Yeah, right. Because they don't make anything off they make money off the box office, but they don't make.
But to scale, it's nothing.
No, it's it's a very small scale.
Right. And I think that's important for people to know. When everyone's like, "Oh, movie ticket prices are going up," the theater is not really the ones responsible for that part.
But the studios will tell you they are.
Yes.
And this is where if you didn't make movies for $200 million,
wouldn't have to do all that.
Yeah.
Which goes right back to what we were talking about, where a movie like Chef, let's go to Box Office Mojo and let's see how much Chef costs to make, because I think that is important as well when it comes to some of these things that, due to the marketing, aspect of things, that we generally kind of like denoted that the marketing budget is the same as the production budget, and so it's possible that if it didn't cost that much to make, then we don't necessarily know about it because people aren't told about it very well. Let's see. Why am I not seeing the?
Because sometimes they don't have the budgets.
Dang, that's how low it was. They don't even have the budget for Chef up here.
$11 million.
11, and domestically it only made 3 times that, like barely.
Well, so that's a win.
That is a win, right?
That's a see. And this goes back to another topic. Disney used to make movies for like $10-15 million, and they make $45 million.
Be happy.
That's a win.
That's happy.
Domestic. And these are back in the days when they weren't counting the international.
Right.
They're screwing everybody else out of money.
Sure.
But they stopped doing that when and it was not. Marvel isn't the reason,
right? But it's indicative.
But they latch on to the franchise and they put out the big blockbuster. Bring back. Clearly you can't really make. You can make a movie for $15 million,
right?
We've seen that.
Yeah,
Godzilla.
definitely. Yep, 1,000,000%.
But you can't make that movie in the U.S. for
Right.
$15 million.
Right. And also, to be fair, part of the success of -1 will be that Godzilla is in fact a franchise. So it is kind of like the perfect middle ground.
It's also a jumping on point.
Right.
It would be the equivalent of Casino Royale.
Yes. Oh, that's a really good one. Yeah.
But if they made movies for $30-50 million, and so part of the equation is the marketing, which you never see, which is why they say 2.5 times the budget is what it needs to make to break even. If they made movies for that little and marketed them well enough,
then you can do it.
Well, and then the problem is they have to be good, or entertaining. I should say entertaining. Good, because
good is subjective.
Yeah, good is, and so is entertaining. But if you had a good time, because some people take the word cinema entirely
too seriously,
especially when they're talking about a movie that never ever made it into the cinema.
Right.
And I am talking about Martin Scorsese.
No, sorry. It's cool.
I very much hate that. And then he makes a movie like The Irishman.
Well, it's funny too, because I have to go back to way back in the Wayback Machine, American Pie, the first one.
Yeah.
I remember seeing that without my group of friends, right? It was a random day. I can't remember what day it was, but I went and theater was packed. I was up in the top right section sitting next to people I didn't know. And when you talk about a movie being entertaining, it was enough that collectively the audience was laughing when they were supposed to laugh.
Yeah.
And the parts that we were supposed to find, gross and funny were gross and funny. Like, it all worked. And that is a movie that I would say, I don't know if I would qualify it as good. I don't know if American Pie can be a good movie, but it was highly entertaining. And when you have something like that, that becomes a different metric. And I wouldn't assume that American Pie cost a lot to make under any circumstance.
No, I couldn't imagine, because there wasn't anybody outside of Eugene Levy. Who else was in that movie?
Thomas A. Nicholas
at the time. Well, child actor. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I mean,
not necessarily a draw. Nice guy.
Yeah.
But him. It was and you were like, oh yeah, it's that guy.
Yeah.
Interesting the way he grew up and everything. But you can't go, he's the reason I came out.
Right.
And it's just like, I don't think that Eugene Levy's that way either.
Well, definitely not. I mean, that was part of the resurgence of him becoming this modern comedic dad figure, which he wasn't, in the 80s and early 90s.
Right.
That was kind of the turn point for him. But, that was, again, that's another movie where it's not about, per se, who is in it, but it's the movie itself that you want to go see.
The budget was $11 million.
Get out. Okay, people, $11 million is the sweet spot, okay? Once you start going over $11 million, your movie's going to be...
102 domestic,
wow.
132 international, which, to be honest with you,
that's incredible.
It's basically a 44-56 split, which is not typical.
Right.
It's usually a 66-34 split.
Yeah.
It made $235 million worldwide, which explains why.
There's a whole franchise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I liked American Pie.
It's a fun movie.
And I think it's got everything going for it, including the music.
Yeah. Oh man, I had that soundtrack. I love.
I mean, it's about as white as white can be.
I mean, sure, but it also was a time period.
Yeah.
And it was enough that my Ohio self still liked it, despite the fact that it actually takes place in Michigan. That's how good of a movie it actually is.
Yeah, you know what? That doesn't even register with me.
Really?
I mean, yeah, I know it takes place in Michigan, but It
was the time for me. Like that was when I actually cared. But no, I think that there's something to that where movies that are really, really good that don't necessarily have that commercial bit, because I think that's the thing with American Pie. We're talking about the teen movie, and so they pumped out marketing to teens very, very well.
Yeah.
But a movie like Chef, who is that for? Movie like really good, like cinephiles. It's for them, but you don't market to them in any particular way other than just like, this exists. You should check it out.
Well, and I guess this also goes back to, when did you go see movies over and over again? How old were you?
The first time that I remember doing it was The Matrix. So I was 17. Like,
And what was the last time you saw a movie 3 times in the theater? I'm sorry. Let me take that back.
yeah.
When was the last time you wanted to see
Okay.
it?
I was gonna say, because like I technically have to do that like all the time.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It was when
yeah.
you wanted to do it. And not because you wanted to, because you were obliged to do. It was because, I really
It was
liked
so
that.
good. I want to see it.
Yeah.
Again. Across the Spider-Verse. Like that was the last time.
And
I
before
did it.
that?
Let's see. That I wanted to see it again. Yeah. Ooh. Going back. Maybe The Gentleman. Yeah, I think it might have been The Gentleman.
Yeah, I think so. The last movie that I did that with was Iron Man.
Wow.
But I used to watch, when you're a kid, that's, that was your entertainment.
Yeah.
So you would go back and go back and go back. And there are other things to entertain people nowadays. True. Also there's waiting for it to be on streaming, and people don't care if they watch it on their phone.
That's true. That's weird to me.
I've actually gotten to the point where I don't mind watching it on my laptop.
Okay. The most that I'll do is I'll watch it on the screen on the back of a plane seat.
Yeah, that's when I'm watching it on my laptop.
Yeah.
Other than that, I'm watching it on my TV.
Yeah. I can't do the phone. I can't.
So but the funny thing is that we came to this because we were trying to figure out what to talk about. We started talking about Mission Impossible. We probably talk about that for 15 minutes.
We did.
And I'm like,
we should talk about this.
This is a topic, and we're not going to talk about Mission Impossible. But it also, and this goes to, the whole fatigue thing.
Mm-hmm.
This could actually be fatigue, but also could be the fact that they called it a part 1.
Right. And they
instead of just, and they're like, well, I can just wait for part 2.
And then I'll do a double feature.
Yeah. But it was the first time that I watched a Mission Impossible movie, really liked it since the third one. And like, I remember watching the first one and thinking, it was nostalgic and it was interesting. And I heard such poor things about the second one. I never saw it until...
Really?
Yeah. I was just like... I just watched a trailer and I'm like, this isn't...
It's a very different movie.
Yeah, it's just not... It doesn't work for me.
Okay.
And then the whole reason I watched the third one was J.J. Abrams.
Of course.
And I loved it. And then I went back and watched the second one and I'm like, God, I just don't like this movie.
Okay. All right.
Like, I get why people do, and I understand what it was, but it was a John Woo movie.
It was a John Woo movie. It just happened to be Mission Impossible.
And then the rest of them just kind of blended in together.
Mm-hmm.
So when I watched Dead Reckoning Part 1, which apparently they're dropping that,
Part 1,
they're just calling it Dead Reckoning, which is probably a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I need to go back. And I had already started watching the other ones because I was getting ready to watch Dead Reckoning. But you know what? I didn't watch it in the theaters either. I didn't watch Barbie in the theaters.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't until recently that I watched Oppenheimer.
Oh, wow.
And I've liked all those movies. But, it's just, there's just sometimes I just can't do it.
I get that.
I watched Dead Reckoning and I'm like, I need to go back and watch these other movies. And I still like it more than the other ones, but I like the other ones.
Yeah.
I may not like every Tom Cruise movie, but outside of 2, I've liked all the Mission Impossible
I think that's
movies.
fair. I think the thing that I liked about 2 the most was Thandie Newton. So it wasn't even about it being a Mission Impossible movie.
That's a very good reason.
Yeah, I agree. Long hair Tom Cruise, I didn't care. But, and the John Woo-ness of it was fun at a time where, I was understanding what a John Woo movie was. That's fun because that's a person who puts more of a signature than storytelling.
Yeah, and as far as Thandie Newton goes, I really like Riddick.
Oh, yeah. Because of her.
No, not because of her.
No?
I like the fact that she was in it, but I like the idea of the movie.
Okay, yeah.
There was a lot of Vin Diesel.
There was a lot of Vin Diesel in that one.
But and I'll say this, He's still the best part of an underrated animated movie.
That is one of my favorite animated movies, actually. So I agree with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Iron Giant that's another one that I don't think did well.
No, it didn't.
Yeah.
No,
yeah.
it's a very underrated
Yeah.
movie.
So,
And a lot of people should have seen that movie.
oh my God.
And I don't think that was marketed well either.
No. And it was a perfect counter Disney movie.
Yeah.
And nope, was not marketed well at all. Same thing with Page Master, but we're not going to talk about that. I think on that note, we will slide up out of here. Thank you guys for joining us into the Chatterverse, where these two gents are sharing their 2 cents on pop media. I am Victor Dandridge, the hardest working man in comics, and joining me, as always,
is Bill, who's a large pain in the ass.
You're not a pain in the ass. It's more like
no. I'm a large one.
No, you're more like an ache. It's more like
Sure.
an ache. Yeah. We'll see you guys next time. Peace.